Ladies and gentlemen, coders and uncoders, robots and humans, welcome to the most epic, hilarious, and mind-bendingly awesome coding series on the internet, Dev and Dan series. Picture this: two coding superheroes, Dev and Dan, armed with keyboards, mouse-clicking superpowers, and an endless supply of coffee, embark on a quest to conquer the world of programming. Will they decode the mysteries of JavaScript? Will they navigate the treacherous terrains of CSS? Or will they just end up debugging their way through a mountain of errors? In this series, you'll laugh, you'll learn, and you might even cry, probably from laughter. Dev, the master of witty one-liners and brilliant code hacks, and Dan, the king of coding fails and comic relief, are here to take you on a roller coaster ride through the land of Flexbox, Grid, and animations. So, grab your snacks, settle into your comfiest coding chair, and get ready to witness the most entertaining, educational, and slightly chaotic coding adventure of your life. Welcome to the Dev and Dan series, where coding is cool and debugging is, well, still a nightmare, but way funnier. Let's code, laugh, and maybe even learn something along the way. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and let the coding madness begin.
Today, we are embarking on an epic quest to create, drumroll, please, a responsive payment gateway form using just HTML and CSS.
Wait, just HTML and CSS? No JavaScript? Are we coding or performing magic tricks here, Dev?
That's right, Dan. We're keeping it old school. No JavaScript. Just pure HTML and CSS wizardry.
Pure HTML and CSS wizardry? More like HTML and CSS frustration. I still have nightmares about that time I tried to center a div.
It's going to be a piece of cake, Dan. Think of it as a coding workout. No pain, no gain.
More like no coffee, no code. I hope you've got a lot of caffeine ready for this.
Always, Dan. Now, imagine this. A sleek, responsive form that makes you want to whip out your credit card just to experience its sheer beauty.
I don't know about you, but my credit card only comes out for pizza and action figures.
Focus, Dan. We're about to dive into the world of form elements, Flexbox, and media queries. It's going to be legendary.
Legendary like my last attempt at CSS Grid where I accidentally created a layout that looked like a Picasso painting?
Exactly. But this time we're going for a Michelangelo masterpiece. So, strap in, grab your favorite beverage, and let's make the most stunning, responsive payment gateway form the world has ever seen.
All right. Let's do this. If we can pull this off, I'll even pay for the pizza, with our new form, of course.
Deal. Let's code, conquer, and maybe, just maybe, order some celebratory pizza. Welcome to the Dev and Dan series, where coding is an adventure and debugging is our middle name.
Speak for yourself, Dev. My middle name is Coffee. Hey guys, don't forget to click in link in the description and support me with a cup of coffee.
Touche, Dan. Let the coding begin.
As ready as I'll ever be. Just don't ask me to center any divs.
All right, Dan. Let's dive into the code for our amazing, super responsive payment gateway form. Ready? Fair enough. So we start with the basics. First up, our trusty doctype HTML and HTML lang equals N tags. We need those to let the browser know we're writing an HTML5 document and that it's in English.
I knew that. I mean, I didn't know that, but I definitely guessed it. What's next?
Inside the head, we've got our meta charset equals UTF-8 to make sure our characters display correctly, and meta name equals viewport, content equals, width equals device width, initial scale equals 1.0 to make it look good on mobile devices.
Viewport? You mean like a port where ships park? We're making a form, not a marina, Dev.
Think of it as a digital marina. Next, we have our title responsive payment gateway form /title. because even our web pages need to introduce themselves properly.
Right, can't have our web page being all anonymous. And we link our CSS with link_rel equals stylesheet ref equals style.css. That's where the magic happens, right?
Exactly. Now onto the body. We have a div class equals container to wrap everything up nicely. Containers are like suitcases for our code. Keeps it all organized.
If only my real suitcase was as organized as this container. Moving on, we've got a form element. Is this where we ask people for their life savings?
Pretty much. Inside the form, we have two columns. One for billing address and one for payment details. Each section starts with a div class equals row to keep things in neat rows.
Rows and columns, sounds like Excel. Got it. What's in the billing address column?
Glad you asked. We start with h3 class equals title, billing address /h3 for the header. Then we have a series of div class equals input box elements for each input field.
Input fields like full name, email, address, city, state, and zip code. It's like a mini interrogation.
Exactly. And don't forget the div class equals flex that contains state and zip code to keep them side by side.
Because everything's better with Flexbox, right? What about the payment column?
We've got another header, h3 class equals title, payment /h3, and more input boxes. We even show which cards are accepted with img src equals /cards, png alt equals.
Wait, cards accepted? Does that mean my Star Wars fan club membership card counts?
Not quite, Dan. The input fields here include name on card, credit card number, exp month, exp year, and CVV.
Ah, the CVV, the three numbers you hope no one ever finds out. And we finish with a button type equals submit class equals btn, submit a /button.
Exactly. When you're done filling it out, you click the button, and voila, you've made a payment, or at least pretended to in our demo.
So, there you have it, folks. Our masterpiece of HTML and CSS. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to go figure out how to actually center that div.
Alright Dan. Ready to dive into the CSS code for our epic payment gateway form?
As ready as a sleepy coder can be. Let's make this form look fabulous.
We start off by importing the Roboto font from Google Fonts. Because nothing says, I'm a sophisticated coder, like a good font choice.
Roboto? Isn't that the name of a superhero robot? Should I be expecting some superhero vibes from this form?
Absolutely, Dan. Moving on, we've got the universal selector asterisk to set margin, padding, and box sizing to 0, and apply the Roboto font to everything. It's like telling all the elements to wear the same stylish outfit.
Uniforms for our HTML elements. Got it. What's next?
Next, we style the container. Display, flex, justify content, center, align items, center, min height, 100 VH, background, RGB, 63, 61, 61, padding, 25px. It's like we're setting up a comfy lounge area for our form to hang out in.
Ah, so it's like a VIP section for the form. Nice. And the form itself?
Width, 700px, padding, 40px, background, gray, border radius, 10px. Gives our form some breathing room and a nice rounded look. Because no one likes sharp corners, right?
Absolutely, sharp corners are for angry coders. Rounded corners for the win. Now, what's happening in the .row class?
Display, flex, gap, 15px, flex wrap, wrap. It's like telling our elements to spread out and wrap around if needed. No element left behind.
A flexible row party, I love it. And the .column class?
Flex, 11250px. This means each column will be flexible but won't shrink below 250px. It's like giving each column a personal space bubble.
Space bubbles for our columns. Got it. Now, what about .title?
Font size, 20px. Color, #1E1D1D. Text transform, uppercase. Margin bottom, 5px. We're making the titles look bold and important. Titles need to feel special too.
Special titles, check. And those .input box elements?
Margin 15px0. Give some space around our input boxes. We're not fans of claustrophobic input boxes here.
No one likes cramped input boxes. What about the span inside the .input box?
Display. Block. Margin bottom. 10px. Making sure the labels sit nicely above their input fields. It's like a label with good posture.
Proper posture for labels, nice. And the input elements?
Width, 100%. Padding, 10px 15px. Border, 1px solid gray. Border radius, 6px. Font size, 15px. Giving our inputs a comfy feel and a nice border. They're ready for some serious typing action.
Comfortable inputs for those who type. I like it. Now, what's with the .flex class?
Display. Flex. Gap. 15px. Making sure our elements inside the flex container have some breathing room. Because even input boxes need personal space.
Personal space for everyone. Got it. And the .input box IMG?
Height. 75px. Margin top. 5px. Filter. Drop shadow. 001px number. 000. Giving our card images a nice height and a shadow for that extra flair. Because card images need to look cool too.
Cool card images, check. Finally, the .btn class?
Width, 100%. Padding, 12px. Background, red. Border, none. Outline, none. Border radius, 6px. Font size, 17px. Color, #FFF. Margin top, 5px. Cursor, pointer, transition, 0.5s. Our button is ready to be clicked with style, and it changes color on hover with background, maroon.
A button that begs to be clicked. I love it. So there you have it, folks. Our CSS masterpiece explained with a touch of humor and a whole lot of style.
Alright folks, that's it for today's episode of the Dev and Dan series. We hope you enjoyed our wild ride through the world of HTML and CSS.
And remember, if you loved this episode, or even if you just mildly tolerated it, don't forget to click the link in the description.
Support our coding adventures with a cup of coffee. Because let's be honest, Dan needs it to stay awake, and I need it to keep dealing with Dan.
Hey, coding is hard work. Plus, caffeine is basically the fuel for our genius.
Or at least it helps Dan pretend to be a genius. So go on, click that link, buy us a coffee, and keep us caffeinated for more epic coding escapades.
Help us turn caffeine into code, one cup at a time. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode. Stay caffeinated, stay coding.
Stay coding.